The more that you read, the more you know, the more that you learn, the more you will grow. The process of learning is not that you read a book, you give an examination, and you finish with education. From the moment you are born to the moment you die is a process of learning. A very pleasant evening, everyone. I am Vanshita Srivastav, member of Developer Student Circuit, and I welcome you all on the behalf of the whole DSC family. We at DSC are a cluster of people that build, grow, code, and execute together. I would request you all to connect on Slido to interact with us throughout the session. The link for the Slido is displayed on the screen. So let's have some interaction. How are you guys feeling? You can mention that on the poll on the Slido. You can join through the link slido.com that /DSC KIET. Please mention what you feel, how are you feeling today? So most of you are feeling excited right now. Yes, that's a very interesting event. Excited, great, curious, wonderful, inspired, must, nice, awesome. Okay, so many of you must know that the current coding world demands is highly demanding web development. So I want you to mention what comes in your mind when you hear of web development. Like, what do you think when you hear of web development? Websites, amazing UI, Namaste JavaScript, playing with web, Smile Gupta, React.js, amazing UI, playing with web, making of website. Websites is the most voted. Experience, Google, Amazon, building responsive web, enjoyment, chilling, backend, interactive website. Okay, so I know that you all are not new to this term, but I can assure you for sure that it's much more than just HTML and CSS. Web developers are like artists that can create something tangible out of an abstract idea. We will be taking your queries at the end of the session, so meanwhile you can post that on Slido. So let's introduce you to the speaker of the session, Miss Smile Gupta. Smile is a front-end engineer at the Razorpay engineering team, and she is one of the most active member of our community, and she is here to guide her with her experience and expertise. We welcome you, ma'am.
Hey, thank you so much for the warm welcome. I'm very excited to have today to be here.
Ma'am, we are much more excited than that. Ma'am, how is your professional life going on?
If I have to be honest, so it's hectic, a little hectic these days, but yeah, it's enjoyable, hectic and enjoyable. Like the work I do, it's fun. It doesn't feel like I do work. So it's like a mixture of what do you call, I don't know the perfect word, so it's a balanced one. Stress is also there, but on the other side, like what I do, I love it, so it's like good stress.
So, which do you prefer, like work from home or work from office?
So I prefer work from home. It's like,
It's more comfortable.
yeah, it's more comfortable, and I'm honest here, so it's like, sometimes you can walk out, you can grab fresh air. Like there is a very nice park outside my home, so I go there and sit in the park and code. So that is like, this is something you miss in office.
So, ma'am, I request you to please start with the session.
Yeah, just like, give me a minute, I'll share my screen.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am,
So
your screen is visible.
yeah, before I start, I have a request for everybody since it's a virtual session. So, wherever you feel stuck, wherever you want more information, either you unmute yourself, interrupt me, and ask your question, or you post them in the chat section. So that it would be, it's not like that me telling myself only what is the roadmap, what is front end, and things on those lines. It may become more interactive.
Yes, ma'am, they can post it on Slido if they have any queries.
Awesome. Let me start. So, hi everyone. So, I hope you are doing great. I hope you guys are double vaccinated or at least single vaccinated, and you are staying safe in this pandemic. And yes, you are enjoying time with your family. And I'm hoping colleges may open very soon, so that the life may resume as it was before pandemic. So I thank you so much for sparing so much time on a Saturday evening for this session. I assure you that I'll not make you bored, and I hope by the end of next 40 to 50 minutes you will learn a lot. So, so as per my title says, and the workshop title says, it says say hello to web development. So what will happen in today's session is I'll be telling right from very scratch what you can do, how you can start your journey with web dev, and how you can get a very nice job and things on those lines. Because at the end of the day, everybody's aim is to get a job. So I'll also share some of the tips and tricks how you can get interviews of some good startups or good companies in web dev, and how you can crack the interviews flawlessly. So I hope you are excited. I am so very excited about it. So without wasting any more time, let's move in. So before I start my bug, and I'll maybe either bore you or maybe I'll entertain you. So let me tell about me. So as it was already mentioned, so I work as a front-end engineer in Razorpay, and apart from that, I am also one of the community builders of AWS. So it's like I am equally interested in AWS as I am interested in front end. So this is what we are going to learn today. So I'll share the myths, like when I wanted to come in the field of front end, whatever myths I faced. There could be more myths also, but I'll list down some of the myths which I thought, okay. Then I'll tell you about my journey, why I left data science, and then why I came into development field. Then I will be talking about a roadmap for to be a web dev. So it's not only like a lot of people think that web dev is only about HTML and CSS. No, it's not. It's way too much beyond that. So we'll discuss about that. Then I'll tell you about some interview tips, how you can crack it, and things on those lines. Because it's like people do, you can find a lot of resources in cracking maybe a DSA interview, okay, or a SG interview, but there are very limited resources for getting a UI interview or a JS interview. So I'll tell you that, and then you can shoot me up with a number of questions. I'll happy to answer. So let's start. Let's start with the myths about UI. So it's back in 2017, 2018, or 2016. Like now what happened is when pandemic started, a lot of we are able to attend sessions globally, and a lot of more awareness started coming of YouTube. Earlier, like back in 2016, 2017, it was not that, like people did not watch the YouTube and the content, like course videos, that also that were not that much, so people were not aware. So these are the some myths I saw or my batchmates saw when they used to hear about UI or front end. The biggest myth. Still, also, I know a lot of people or a lot of my juniors. They say that if somebody wants to go into the field of web development, they'll say, "Arey, why to go in web development? There is no scope. We will not go in. This is most underrated thing." And web development is like just simply making websites. Why do we even need to make a website? Like we have some things called WordPress, then we have Wix, then if we go to any, from where we can get our host name, be it be HostGinger or GoDaddy. So they also give us, UI builders. Then why do we even need, to learn UI? So this was the biggest myth. Now also people think, they think like it's not worth it. Now the second thing is that a lot. This is a lot of people also thought that, and this is something I also personally thought that who will even write the code from scratch? Because a lot of templates, if I simply say free templates of HTML CSS, I'll get hundreds to hundreds beautiful templates. So why do we even waste time if templates are available? I will do not write things from scratch. But it's not reality. When you see, it's not that. Like I'll give you an example. We all have seen how Facebook website used to look in 2013 and now how it looks. It has a drastic change. So people do write code from scratch. And the third thing, this is like maybe a lot of people would have thought about it. If you just hear the term web development, it's like like we have taught these things in the school also. Key, what happens is, what is HTML? HTML is something, the language of web or a language of browser, and to make it beautiful, we have something called CSS. Correct? Then why do we even need a JavaScript? Earlier, what used to happen is, if you go back like 3 4 years down the lane, the websites which were there, they were not that JS heavy. People used to, if you would have seen when a page loads, sometimes it happens, right? Say XYZ, what we call XYZ website welcomes you, something on those lines. So I have also seen those kind of examples. So I was thinking, array, what is this JavaScript? Why people think it's too much hype? Like when people start teaching, it happened in my college also. The professor started teaching JavaScript, and initially I hated it, and I was like, array, what is this teacher teaching? And it went beyond my head, and it was like, I understood that JavaScript is used just to add that alert button to the web page. So these are some of the myths I encountered while jumping into UI. So but it's not true. We see Facebook, right, the new application, or maybe we see Twitter, then we see our, say, this Microsoft Teams only, the desktop version, if we talk about that. and everything we see around it is, they are actually not websites, but they are web apps. How a website is different from web app? So let me tell you. So website is like, when you simply have plain HTML CSS pages. That is a website. But a web app is like when we have like single page applications, or you might have heard about some terms called PWA. Let me give you an example of PWA. We like sometimes it happens, right? We do used to say you download Twitter in your from desktop, not from Play Store, from the browser. So there is an option you can develop a PWA. PWA is nothing, just a progressive web app. So one example is that you can see the things offline also. So what happens is, in a Twitter PWA, it's nothing but it's just a web application since you have not downloaded it from a Play Store. Okay, Play Store app is something if we download it from Play Store, but we can download it from browser also. Like sometimes, say this Microsoft Teams which you're using, right? Download Microsoft Team. That is different, but PWA is different. So it is like, when what happens is a PWA. It happens like you are able to even send the tweets when you are offline. How do it post it on the web? Like there is some association with manifest, and like by using some things, when you come online, it starts working and it start pushing your tweet. So something on those lines also things happen. There are things, okay. So it's not only about websites, but now in addition web apps started coming, then PWA started. PWA is also becoming trend. So something, these things are there now. So that is why we say that UI or learning front end web development, it's way much beyond than just learning HTML and CSS. Okay. Okay. So this is one meme. So I do include a lot of memes. So if you see what it do a web designer think, like friends think, they do chilling, what mom thinks, what society thinks, what client thinks, what I think I do, but what I actually do, but it's not true. It's just a myth. People do develop things from scratch, and even not just scratch, but what happens is a lot of big companies, they even there is something called that template library. So what is a template library? Generally what happens is, when you want that all your products should look same, so we write CSS in one common place, and we use that same CSS in different things. One of the examples of template libraries, Bootstrap. So companies do have started writing their own what we call template libraries also. So yeah. So next thing about it is now you would have been hearing about these things like AR, VR. Then there are some things like what we call AI. Then we have ML. Then we have data science. So when I started my journey, so what happens in my college is they give all the kids an option that in third year, you don't have to study the old typical subjects, and you can choose your own minor. So in minor, like there were a couple of minors like data science, ML, AI, cloud, and web was also there. So it was like when I knew nothing about these things. So earlier, at like 1 2 years back, no, there was not that awareness. So I was like, okay, if you will, hear this from me, you will laugh at me. Why I wanted to, what we call, choose data science. It's like DS, okay, and the full form of data structure algorithm, the short form of data structures and algorithm was DSA. So it was okay in DSA. Okay, then I thought, Arey, why don't DS and DS look similar? So let me go to DS. So then, after opting for DS, then I realized that it comprises of data cleaning, data analysis, and things on those lines. We clean the data sets so that it can be used to train ML models and things on those lines, and it can help in we can help in making analysis. So it was a rich field. So why did I even left it? Because today's people, they are planning, or they're going behind this DS, AIML and things on those lines. I was also doing okay, like I learned Tableau, then I learned R programming, then I learned Python, then Excel was also I learned in the starting. So why do I even left DS? So what happened is, so every year in sixth semester in our college, what we call all the people, all the kids, they get an opportunity that if you even get an internship, then what you can do that is, you don't have to study college for 1.5 years. So sixth semester, seventh semester, and eighth semester, and you can enjoy chilling and doing internship and things of those lines. So like the typical placement started. Okay, I was till that time. It's that story about January 2020. Huh? Just some months before pandemic. So I was also like in my fifth semester I learned about Tableau, R, Python, Excel, and things on those lines. So I was very adamant that I should even only go in the field of TS if there would be any campus placement. Like I started hating because of the myths I knew, right? The myths I mentioned in my previous slides. After seeing that, I was like somewhat, yeah, I will not go in this the field of web development or front end development, because it's like anybody, even I thought a monkey can even do web development. So I started, I don't know why, but in initial I hated it. So I made my mind that I'll go in the field of TS only, and what will happen is I'll wait for companies to come. But when I started noticing the companies which were coming, they were only about SG roles, and you would have to solve n number of lead code problems, then aptitude, then verbal and things on those lines. You have to do a lot of things in order to get selected in some company. That was never a DS role, but it was always a SG role. Then I started realizing, then I started talking to some people, and then I don't know what happened. And it was like seeing friends getting placed and a lot of people around me getting placed. It felt a little toxicating for me that I should also try something. I was so stupid. I thought the time DS internship, so I'm never getting. So what I'll do, I'll try to get any single internship in any company, or maybe in a startup, so that I can learn something, and then I'll switch. And till the time I'll ask somebody in my company where I'll be working, do you know any referral, if you can refer me to some DS internships. So then I got in our internship in a early stage startup that was Confab Technologies. It is based out of Bangalore. Okay, so I started working there. So I thought like I'll work there for 2-3 months and then I'll shift. I'll try to ask my manager or some people, please refer me to the DS internship. Okay. So then when I started working, right, I started seeing things. Then I started following Tanay Pratap. He works in Microsoft. Okay, so what happens is then I actually realized that DS jobs, the ML jobs, people who are starting, they will not get it. And even if they'll get it, right, you will be able to not see all the fancy things which you would have imagined. You would have imagined, or I would have imagined, like I would be training ML models, I would be doing this, I would be doing that. No, it was not the reality. So that is how I realized that DS, it's just it is like what we call in Hindi, we use a term like dur ke dhol suhavne, like whatever you see things from far, it looks beautiful. So that was my realization, and it's if you don't believe me, but I am not saying, I am not against ML or DS, but it's like if you're looking for an entry level job, you will simply get a job of data analyst, what they do, that is, they'll read through a lot of spreadsheets and they'll try to analyze data and Tableau and things of those lines. That are the tools they generally use, or maybe they use R or Python with that. For front end, for freshers, there are not that much jobs in this field. So then in the meantime, with the passage of time, I started and I fell in love with this my front end. I loved that React was something I fell in love, and still till date it's been like maybe more than 1.5 years, and I'm loving this field. I have no regrets. I do sometimes feel like if I would have went in the field of DS, I would have ruined my life. That's true. I am so happy now where I am. So yeah, that's how front end changed my life. So if I would be still doing DS, I know a lot of people, a lot of my batchmates, they're still struggling. They were so adamant that they will not leave DS. They will just, they'll ditch, SG roles or maybe front end engineer roles or DevOps, and they'll not go, and still they don't have any job. So that's the reality. At least today, that's a reality. Who never knows, in upcoming 4 5 years, the things may change. So now the main thing comes is how you can get started with web development. So, so I have a very beautiful. I have seen a what we call a very beautiful uh, diagram. I tried putting it in my slide, but it was not possible. Before I show you the roadmap, three things which you obviously require if you want to be get into web development. Like if I compare it with DS, right? Maybe you need some tools called Excel or maybe Tableau or maybe Python shell or R shell. Okay, so for web development you need three things. One is that code editor. There are a lot of options in the market, maybe WebStorm, VS Code. Yeah, VS Code is generally a lot of developers' favorite. So if you have not started with, a lot of people even do this coding or web development with maybe Notepad. Like in our school days, we used to use Notepad or Notepad 3, right? Notepad 3 was also advanced. Then people started using, there was a thing called brackets, but now it has been depreciated. So there was a very nice tool called brackets, if you would have seen that in your school days or maybe early college days. Then people started using that sublime text, that slowly and slowly people started. And yeah, if you want to go into the dev fields, VS Code or maybe this WebStorm is a good choice. And one more thing is that WebStorm is, it's open sourced, so a lot of or this, what is it, check drain tools are expensive and they are paid, but if you do have your college IDs, you can get them for free. So WebStorm also comes with a lot of automation. Then you should have the knowledge of Git, then GitHub, then version control and CLI. Why I am referring to CLI? You might be thinking, like, a lot of people may not be working in Linux. So, and also now, we can use the keypad, mouse, and we can do some things. But trust me, if you go into the development, a lot of people try to avoid, not try to avoid, but they, use a lot of terminal commands. So terminal commands with respect to Git. Then even people start, like, there are, like, they use mkdir to make the folder. Then they see pwd, then cd, something. These, like, there are some 18 to 20 good commands. You learn them, and that is more than enough. Then the third thing which you need is, when you come into these development field, specifically web dev, so people do use a design tool, like, it's like, as the name suggests, it's a website, or maybe something you see visually. So there are a lot of tools. Figma is famous one, so you can use design. What happens is, why do you even need a design tool, or you need the knowledge of design tools? So when you will start working in teams, it's like, since I mentioned that it's not like you don't pick a template, there is specifically a UX designer who do all these things. And then developers, what they do, they take that, where they design, maybe they use Adobe XD, then or people use, a lot of people started using Figma. Why? Because it have a very good community, and because of that, so they wanted to see how any component is built. They wanted to pick colors. It's not that old zamana where the designer will give you hash codes. No, it's not. You can simply play with it. You can even the today's design tools, you can also do something called prototyping. What is prototyping? Like, we will make a website. We will make a website in Figma only, and then what will happen when you click a button? It will land to another screen, so you can connect that screen to the other page, and that's how prototyping works. So that is why a design tools is necessary. So let me quickly show you the roadmap. So I'll don't you worry, I'll share after the session. I'll give this slide and the roadmap to you so that you can visit it. Okay. So there is a website called roadmap.sh. Okay. So there is a guy called Kareem on GitHub. So he developed that, and he have added a lot of beautiful roadmaps in his website. So let me go through it. So how it is, how you can read that roadmap. One is that, see, there are four things. One is that what we call, one is that personal or recommendations. Like, these are some things you should know. Then these are green tick, means that alternative options. If you don't want to go with purple options, then the gray tick is that this is not strict. If you know them, it's good. If you don't know them, it's okay. And grayish ones, like it's not recommended. Like, why it's not recommended? Like, it's not used in current trends of industry. It was like, now people have depreciated it. What is depreciation means? So if you will work with packages, so a lot of times it would have wrote that this package is depreciated. It means that it's there on the internet, but nobody no longer uses it. Not uses it, but actually rather maintains it. Like, whenever we develop a software, right, we always need its maintenance, so it's not maintained anymore. So if there would be any bugs, the package owners are not at all responsible. So that is this what means. So when you start with front end, okay, one thing is that people say that we should know about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But what are the things we should learn before we even jump to HTML? This is my suggestion, or this is good to know. Like, how does even internet work? What is HTTP? What is HTTPS? And how do a browser works? What kind of generally what happens is when we give any code to a browser, they need some kind of compiler to understand it. Like Chrome have a compiler called V8. How does a browser read the code? How does a browser works? This is something, if you will know it, it will always be a plus one. And then what is DNS? DNS is domain name system, like www.google.com. So this is a domain name, how you can buy different domains and from where you can get it and things on those lines. And then what is a subdomain? So if you know its knowledge, it would be helpful. And how DNS works, like if you enter any domain name and what happens is how it get processed, things on those lines. Okay, then second point, what is a domain name? Third is that what is hosting? What is hosting? If I have to explain in a very simple terms, like if I hit, say I was opening my slides, right? This one. If I'll share this link in your system also, it will open until or unless I have not shared it. So it will get open. So this is what it is like hosted. This docs.google.com, it's hosted. If anybody will open docs.google.com, they will open presentations. So that is hosting. Hosting is anything present on the web. Okay. And then if you know the basics, then the next what happens is learn about what is HTML, then what is in CSS JavaScript. Let me tell you in HTML what you can learn. That is, it's possible in 1 hour only you can learn about HTML, but I'll just listen carefully. It's not about, we see a lot of people saying crash course of HTML. HTML is nothing. It's very simple. Things on those lines. And what people say that is, even is there anything to learn in HTML? Yes, there is a lot of things. One is that simple tags. Okay, like if you have heard about div and span, people use that in the everything and use that. And second thing is that there are some semantic HTML tags. You might or might not. There are some tags called main tag, then article tag, then section tag, form tag, and things on those lines. There are a lot of tags for that. What now you might be thinking the same. How do it does it even matter when we see the screen, right? We never check the source code. We never inspect element it and see what are the things behind it. No, it's not. But if you know semantic HTML, right? So what happens is, with the help of semantic HTML, browser can automatically make your things responsive. You don't even not need to add many responsive queries if you will use semantic HTML. Also, web pages, the people who can't read, see. So what happens is, you might have Morse code we have, right? The one which use blind people to see. So the websites are even converted into that, so that blind people can also see. If we have would have not wrote semantic HTML, so it's difficult for them to understand where people use div, what is that span and things on those lines. So it's good if you know about semantic HTML. Then third thing is that form validations, and the next thing is that what is the convention and best practices. As I mentioned about, one of the best practices is using semantic HTML. Then you can also, it's good to have, like, if you see a lot of people write a lot of meta tags, that is just to increase their SEO. Then accessibility is that everybody can utilize. It's like it should be accessible to everybody. That is the English meaning. But what does that means in technical terms, or maybe in the terms of HTML CSS? It should work in the slow network connection also, so that it's accessible for accessible for people who even use 2G and who even use 4G. So that is accessible. So now that comes is the things with CSS. So a lot of people say, and that's even true, how much CSS, the CSS have no limit. Do we need to learn a lot of CSS? And you would have seen a thing called CSS art also. Do we need to learn that also? This is my opinion, and a lot of people with experience would agree with me. You should need to learn only enough CSS if you are not into CSS art and things on those lines. How much CSS you should know when you want to work comfortably. Take an example. I always give this example. If you can build Facebook on your own, you can write the CSS for Facebook on your own. That's more than enough CSS you need for your rest of the dev life. Okay, and yeah, these are some things. Then next comes to JavaScript. So JavaScript is, never think like this, don't do this mistake which I did. I was not aware about this for my first 2 years, that JavaScript can also do anything apart from alerts. Also, it can do a lot of things. I earlier thought the API integration work maybe the job of backend people, but it's not true. You have to integrate APIs in the front end itself, and that backend developer will not do. You have to a web developer with using JavaScript, and they can use maybe fetch, this one fetch or exhaust. They can call the APIs. Then there is something called DOM manipulation. So if you're working with plain JavaScript, like people do learn DOM manipulation. It's very helpful. Then a lot of new features about ES6. maybe spread operator, rest operator, then arrow functions, and a lot of things you should know about them. Then there are some concepts which you should learn, like hoisting, event bubbling, then execution stack, call stack. What are these things? If you know, that's good to know. Then, as I talked about, people should know about the Git. Then, like this, there are two things mentioned: GitLab and Bitbucket, then GitHub. So, if you know either one of them, mostly GitLab and Bitbucket generally, these are something used by professional people. But do learn how to use GitHub. So the Git remains same. Git, GitLab, Bitbucket, these all are things, all the just the websites to have version control maintenance. And then if you know some of the things about web securities, it's good. Like what is HTTPS, CORS, then content security policies and things on those lines. Then now the thing is that next once you would have good hold about JavaScript, right? Now something comes with this is packages. What are these packages? These are basically, if I have to tell you in a very simple terms, it are like somebody else have written their JavaScript or their TypeScript and we are using it. So either people use Yarn or NPM. Both of them, anyone you can pick. Like functionality work wise, they both don't have any difference. Then one is that CSS architecture. So here it's something called written is BEM. BEM is like convention, BEM convention. It's like how do we name the names of our classes so that it can be easily understandable by a lot of people. Then we have something called Css Processor Preprocessors. One of the things which it's like pre-processing CSS. Like people use Sass. Okay, then less to people don't use, and post CSS also people don't use. People generally use Sass. Then something called npm scripts. This is task runner. Then we have some build tools. Okay, like build tools. What are there? Like linting. What is linting? It's like checking if the syntax is correct. People do use ESLint, and there is something called prettier. Prettier is like just what we have in Python. We can our code, if until or unless our code is not indented, it's not working. But if you want to indent our HTML, CSS, JavaScript code, people do use prettier. Then I'll not touch to the most examples. Like there is something called you should know about webpack. So it is like combining, when you want to combine a lot of modules and you want to bundle them together. These webpack is generally used with React, or it when we want to bundle things. So we should know about what we call bundlers, module bundlers like webpack. Then there are two more things, rollup and parcel. Generally, a rollup is used with Svelte. Svelte is again one more framework. Now the thing is that once you know, basic JavaScript. So let me tell you, this BEM convention is also good to have. This you should know about NPM or Yarn. Then don't you worry at the initial stages. Don't worry about these task runners or maybe the module bundlers. See this. If you see this roadmap very carefully, these are dotted lines. Your target should be towards the dark line. Okay, so the other, if you see these dotted lines about which I was talking about, these are some additions, good to have things, but it's not necessary. So after you know basic JavaScript, maybe you did one or two projects in JavaScript, and then what happens is try to pick maybe one framework. So if I say people generally use React.js, and if you see in this, there is something called Redux and Mobx. So what is Redux and Mobx? Let me give you an overview. So these are like state management tools. State management tools is like what is state? In simple words, state is nothing but a variable, a tool that is used to manage variables. Okay, then Angular and Vue also people use it, and there is something called Svelte also. So now or these days, React is like 80% of the market use React. Okay, then the thing about web components is generally people don't even study about it, but I'll give you an example. Say if you what happens is, if you're building a website, what will happen is, you have to write, say we have a nav bar and a footer, we have to write nav bar and footer again and again. There is one possibility, we can convert that things into web components and we can use that. People don't go into that level of abstractions. People gradually switch to a framework. Then CSS frameworks. Generally, a lot of people don't write, as I mentioned, CSS from scratch. So they people even prefer maybe Material UI, Bootstrap, something on those lines. People prefer. A lot of options are, we have like Tailwind, Chakra, Bulma, Material CSS. There are a lot of options, but Bootstrap, Material UI, and React Strap are very popular. Now what comes after, we have frameworks. Now we do now one thing is that people say that testing is not possible in front end, but it's not true. It's possible. We can test our components and things on those lines using what we call jest, and uh, what we call jest we use, and we use React testing library. Then we have something called Cypress and Enzyme. These are one things that helps you to test the UI components. Okay, then these are something. Then that thing which I talked about, that is PWA, that is progressive web apps. Okay, then you should know about how to interact with APIs like Axios and things on those lines, and fetch. And if you want to make a desktop applications, like, also one more thing is that, do we have something called TypeScript. TypeScript is like, JavaScript is open language. It doesn't check about like what we call it doesn't check about what we call that typeness. So that is why we have something called TypeScript. Okay, that is again one good to know thing. Then we just remember to read about two things. What is one is client side rendering and server side rendering. Server side rendering is that when we load our web page on the server and not the user's machine. Like now you are seeing this presentation, you are seeing it in the client side, you are rendering this presentation in your machine, but there is a chance we render the UI on the server itself so that it can load quickly. That is server side rendering. So people do server side rendering with Next.js. Next.js is built on top of React.js, and people use Nuxt, Nuxt, if people use this view. Okay, and we have something called GraphQL. These are like two kind of APIs are there, REST API and GraphQL APIs, and we do need some medium to integrate it, and for GraphQL we generally need Apollo. Then for Next.js we use something called Electron, and for these are some static site generators, like people use Gatsby or Next.js for that purpose. And if we talk about mobile applications, we have in web development only, we can use also this what we call React Native. It's again very popular. So I gave you overall idea what things are there in web development. If I have to sum it up, see, what you need to know is this roadmap will have a lot of things, because I wanted to tell you all the possible options. If you consider my suggestion, you can start with web development in 8 weeks. So I have added this. I'll simply tell you, if I have to, if you wanted to experiment with web dev, what you can do, that is just read these things. Take it as a 8 week challenge. See what happens when you click it. How does internet works? Then basics of HTML. Try to see and try to have one exercise, like try to make your own portfolio website using the same HTML CSS. Then try in the second week, try to learn about GitHub. Try to make your PR. Then try to see what are GitHub pages. I forgot to mention one thing in this all the roadmap. You should always know how to deploy your code. You can try deploying your code on using GitHub pages, Vercel, Netlify, Heroku. So there are some free options. You can use that, and you should know how to host your website. It's not a point, right? You can write your code in your local machine and you don't you don't know how to publish it. So that is something you should know. And then you start with css, try to make some shapes with css and try to have some exercise. Then try to make a portfolio website with html and css. Then coming to javascript, try to play with javascript, try to make your first cli app using javascript. Then practice some pattern based questions in javascript. Why I'm saying that is, when you try to solve practice based questions, it will help you to improve your logic. Then try to read about DAO manipulation. Then try to learn about how to make a API call. Then read about some things called social local storage, session storage, and cookies. Then try to implement, since you know now the what we call JavaScript, so try to implement dark mode in your portfolio and try to make a lot of couple more projects using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Once you're done with this, you can pick one framework, like maybe say React, and trust me, if you know these things, right, you are job ready, you are internship ready. So it's that simple. So this was all about the roadmap. So now next thing is that how you can hunt UI interviews and what are the tips and tricks you can ace it. Very simple thing I'll tell you. Start using your LinkedIn. Try make one project, write about it on LinkedIn. Okay. So make another project, write about it on LinkedIn. Showcase, paste some demo links on LinkedIn. Try to paste 4-5 projects on LinkedIn. Try to make full end-to-end projects. Then try to write some blogs out of it. And then once you have maybe 6-7 good projects, 3-4 blogs you have written about it, then how you can start applying is that go to maybe some website. One website is angel.co. Okay, you go to that website, and one thing is that don't forget to have your portfolio website. Apart from that, your resume, send the portfolio website to all the startups. Startups are the best and easy ways to hunt internship or even kickstart your journey. And or else what you can do, that is simple hack I'm telling you. Take a list of, if you wanted to work in a big space or good startups and not the early stage startups, take a list of unicorns of India. Go visit every unicorn, and every unicorn would have their careers page. Paste your portfolio website, do drop them in their career page, and trust me, they do respond. And this is how you can hunt your UI interviews. Now the thing is that how will you crack it? There are limited set of questions in UI. Some questions are with respect to JavaScript. If you want to see that questions or you want to practice it, a lot of people would have heard about Namaste JavaScript by Akshay Saini. You can go through that entire playlist. They have like 18-19 videos, and he'll help you in preparing that. That much knowledge of JavaScript is more than enough. And then what else on top of it you can do, that is you can practice some questions. Like we used to have some questions in C++, maybe reverse a number, right? And reverse string. Then is the string panagram? Is this anagrams of the string? The first letter capitalization. So search about it. There are some standard problems, or maybe flattening a array, and there is something called polyfill. So just there are very limited set of questions. If you will even spend 2-3 weeks no reading about that, you will crack it. And in the most of the JavaScript interviews, same questions are asked in repetition. So that is one hack I realized by giving a lot of interviews, that people do ask same questions. Just read about them. Okay. So the next thing is that, now you know this is the roadmap. You got to know about this and that. Now, what is how you can proceed further? Now you know the things, you know the topics. These are the topics, but where should we learn from? So one thing is that YouTube channels. you can go them. I have listed some of the channels like Traversy Media, Akshay Seni, Tane Pratap, WebDev, Simplified Code with Harry, then Hitesh Chaudhary, the Net Ninja, Decode, and David. These are some of the handpicked channels I refer to. They have a lot of tutorials circling around this UI, front end, web dev, and you can pick from them. Next is that, see, now these days Kota Factory, a lot of people are seeing that, and everybody knows Jitu Bhaiya. Right? You should try to find your Jitu Bhaiya. It's like try to find one person in the same industry where you wanted to go and try to follow them. If you're looking for this web dev fields, right? Maybe Tane Pratap, he works in Microsoft. There is a guy called Pratham, he's crazy about CSS. Then Akshay Seni, his handle is Akshay March 7. Then there is a guy called Jagdish Patel. It's like he's like 2021 passed out only. He makes a lot of good projects. So there is a girl called Akansha Chaudhary. She is good at JS cracking JS interviews. She do post a lot of good things on her channel, not channel, but on her Twitter and Instagram. So there is a guy called that I forgot his name, but his handle is Agium. He is what he works. He used to work in Airmeet, and I forgot the latest place he started joining in. So he also posts a lot of good content. And there is a guy called Javel Sujit. So he's one of my friends. He do post a lot of serious contents about JavaScript on Twitter. So it's like, try to utilize Twitter. A lot of people, so there is one thing, people use Twitter for just seeing news and things on those lines, but try to start using Twitter for this tech also, and you will find a lot of good content. These days, LinkedIn have become what we call a platform to showcase your company's backpacks. That's it. And or maybe people show certificate and things on those lines, but the real learning people don't have now it on LinkedIn, but on Twitter. Try to follow some of the hashtags web development on Twitter. If you will see, a lot of people will every day do 100 days of web dev, some self challenges they will do. So you can learn from them, you can connect with them, make friends, you know to get help from each other. Do that. And your last thing is that try to join some coding community. So one community I am part of is that is Team Tane community, that is on Discord. Then there is a community called Shritam by Shritam Das, again on Discord, and there is one community by Geeky Ants. Okay, the founder of Geeky Ants, he has started the online community. So I have added the third link for that. You can refer to these channels, to these people on Twitter, or to these coding communities, and you can learn a lot. Just last tip from my end is that if you want to be a good developer, avoid tutorial hell. What is tutorial hell? In very simple words, what happens is people see one video, okay, they're good. Then they see second video, then they make one project, sing from that. Two projects, making from that. They make 5 good projects by watching tutorials only, but they never tried writing their own code. So that is something you should avoid. You should avoid getting stuck in tutorial hell, because these days a lot of tutorials are there. Everybody is creating content. So you to know what is the good content, but skip the video wherever possible. Try to code it on your own. Just try to see the basics and try to do things on your own. Because if you do things on your own, you will remember it by heart. So that is one tip I'll give you in these days when we have a lot of content. To avoid tutorial and it will help you. So yeah, that was pretty much I have to share. So I have shared a lot of things in a very hurry basis, but I am open to questions. You can ask me a number of questions, and I'll be happy to answer as much as questions possible.
That was very insightful and informative session, ma'am. I, I learned so many new things. So we should move to the questions now.
Yes. So it's there on Slido, right?
Yes, it's on Slido.
Okay. Okay, first question is if you could restart your career, would you start working in a startup or a web established MNC? Any day, I'll to work in a early stage startup. I'll be very open. You know what happens when you start working in a MNC or established startup? They have a big code base. You spend months, literally months, 2 3 months in understanding just the code base, and with the what we call with the onboarding process and things on those lines. So early stage startup, because you will with startups or specifically with early stage startups, you will get 10 times more what we call exposure to things. So yeah.
So the next question is,
What were the question asked from you in the Razorpay interview? Okay, let me quickly show you. I have wrote a detailed post about it. I'll share this, right? So the questions were, if I have to what uh, tell in one word, it's like all were basics. If the basics are clear, you can crack any interview. So you can refer to this for all the questions. Uh, I'll share it in the chat section. How do
ma'am,
we?
the chat section is disabled.
Okay, how do I share this here? If I
Ma'am,
want.
send us the link. We will share
Okay.
it to them
So
later.
after this, you can what you can do that is you visit my Twitter profile, and the first post you will see that is it's about Razorpay only. Okay. Okay. The next question. After some time,
Ma'am,
you.
you can share all the links. We will
Yeah, I'll
we will
share
put
it.
it in the email.
Yeah, I'll share it post the session. I'll give the link for the roadmap, then for the presentation and for the Razorpay interview experience. I'll get that.
Yeah, yeah. We will put in the email.
Yeah. After some time, you feel stuck. How do you overcome this? You know what? I'll be honest. I take off that day when I feel stuck. Uh, like take off in the sense I don't do anything. I try sleep. I'll sleep the maybe in the evening, and I'll try to eat my favorite food. Then I'll think while eating that, I'll maybe go for a walk, and I'll think, why do I even started? This is one thing to overcome this, I use this. So this actually helps. Just avoid all your things for one day, and you will actually find some solution to get out of it.
That was really helpful.
Yeah, it is actually. It helps in de-stressing you. Or else, what do I do? I
Sleep
spend
and
one
food
day in the
always
spa.
help.
Yeah, means make yourself feel pampered, eat a lot of good food, and uh, eat your favorite food. If you enjoy, have a head massage, have a spa day. It is again relaxing.
It's done.
What if company took you as a React developer, but after they're saying to work on WordPress, what would you do? Forcing to learn in 2 3 days. See, if they will, this is a hypothetical situation. They will not put into WordPress. That's for sure. If a company is doing development, but if that happened with me, what I'll do, I am that sort of person. I want a growth in my career. Doing WordPress doesn't bring growth in my career, so I probably quit. Or maybe I'll talk to my managers first if you can, reshuffle my work. But I'll not do anything except development, because it's in the long run, WordPress will not help, but development will.
Yes,
And it's
ma'am.
like one more thing is that if you will do development, right, it's more on those lines.
Yeah.
What we call, you have the constant growth in your life. Once you became a WordPress developer, what will happen is,
You
uh,
can be creative too.
yeah, and it would be for the next time. Once you are getting habitual with doing things with WordPress, you will never come back to the code. That's one thing I can say, that is okay. How to make web responsive? Any tips or tricks on that? One is that use what semantic HTML elements. They come with inbuilt responses support. Try to read about them. That helps. Second thing is that, say, one is the media queries. That is the last option. But if you are looking for something basic responsive, what you can do, that is you can always refer to uh, Flexbox. Flexbox also helps us in making things responsive. And there are some properties like Flex Wrap, you can use that, and things become easy with that. What should I focus if I'm in my third, fourth year and want to sit for placements? Simple answer: if your company brings, if your college brings good companies, and not just good companies, but the profile added by that company is good. Just check with your seniors, or maybe check with the people who work in that particular company. If what we call what do you call, if there is this growth of learning. I know a lot of my batchmates, they opted for campus placements, and what happened is they are again re-looking for jobs now. Like, their internship is over, but they were not satisfied with the quality of work they gave. So think about that. And if all the things are clear, like if the quality of work is there, and it would not be the case, after 6 months, you will end up leaving that job, and you want to do that job changing wala thing, preparing for a job wala thing again. So try to focus on camp. If all the things is there, right? If the companies which come in your college that offers good placement and good work, then go for college placements. Try general college companies ask for DSA. Try do DSA quants, analytics, and clear campus interviews. If not the case, then make your development skills good. Apply using other mediums, and that's what you should do, and try to hunt things off campus. If you will hunt things off campus, I'm telling it by my experience, it's good. It's not that risky. You will get job at the end of the day.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, for cracking front-end interviews, do we need to know about DS and algo? Again, it depends. Like, I'll give you example. If you want to apply for the position of front-end engineer in Amazon, yes, they do ask DS algo questions. But if you are applying the same thing in a startup, they will not. It's like this is something I have learned, or maybe seen the trend. Like, where do people ask DSS algo questions? They generally do ask DS algo questions just to cut off people, or just to filter out people. Maybe because they would have had a lot of applicants. So in general, in front end interviews, people don't, but in some companies, people do ask. Means now things are changing. Now people have started to ask no DS algo questions in front end interviews. But some companies also ask. Means 90% don't ask, but still the 10% companies which get a lot of applicants like Amazon, they do ask DS algo. I guess in Microsoft also, in the entry level or this kind of, they ask algo questions. So some
So,
do and
so
some
we
don't.
should know at least the basics of DSI,
Yes.
no?
Yeah. If you're applying for a front end position, so the DS algo will not be that high level, that grass, trees, that will not be that, but it would be the basic ones. If you are like, you should know about this arrays, linked list, stacks, queues, and maybe how to make that hash map.
That's
That's it. If you know all these things, it's more than enough. And one more thing is that if you are looking in a front end interview, so what happens in Razorpay is they try to ask the DSL type of questions, not very hard, but simple questions in JavaScript. So if you are looking for front end interviews, try to solve the DS algo questions in JavaScript as well. Okay. Uh, I'm learning React from 1 year, but I'm not able to clear my concepts related to Redux. Can you share some of the good channels where I can learn it? Okay, I'll show you one channel from where I learned Redux, and it's super easy in 2 videos I saw. Show you this one. There is a channel called Dipesh Malviya. So just note down this channel. I'll add this channel. Give this link for sharing also in the email. But this guy had made 2 videos. One was with normal Redux, like telling that action reducers, and in the second part of this video, he uses Skunk and not Saga for side effects. So these 2 videos, it's like 1.5 hour and 15 minutes it will take, but it clears all the fundamentals. So this is I recommend. It was super duper helpful for me. This one. I'll share this one. Okay.
Yes, ma'am,
Again,
we will share a link
yeah.
of it.
Next is, can you start freelancing if I only know front end? Yes, you can. A lot of my friends do freelancing if they only know front end. The thing is that the type of project they generally take freelancing projects would be, then they will be picking only which are basically building websites, or maybe they are building web apps like the static web apps. But if there is something dynamic, then APIs do come into picture. So you also need to know like some, maybe how to make basic CRUD APIs. You can start. How did you get into Razorpay? What do you do there, and how's the culture? Okay. How did I get into Razorpay? So Razorpay offers, they have one dedicated page for what you called front end. In career space, there is a specific section if you're looking for front end related interviews. Let me show you. Front end net Razorpay. Okay. So they have specifically section for jobs at front end. So I simply clicked on apply now. I'll share this link, and you post it here. Or what you can do, that is you ping me on Twitter, and don't apply on your own. I'll add a reference. Okay.
Okay, ma'am, I'll definitely ping you.
And what do I do there? So they have, since Razorpay is a payment gateway, it's not just a payment gateway, but they have more products also. But I work in the payments team, where they are involved with the checkouts widget we see, right? When we want to make any transaction, I do that. And I work using Svelte there, because Svelte is a lot quicker in comparison to React. Like a lot of our projects are made with the React also, and Svelte also. Okay, one project only this checkouts is in Svelte, because we want that everybody should have the same experience. A person using 2G may also have a good payments experience, and a person with 4G also. So I do that, and then there are new things coming with in respect to the checkouts widget itself. So I'm working on that. Work culture is superb. Like I have never seen a culture like that. They take care a lot about your mental health, and they conduct a lot of activities that helps to have a work life. So culture wise, it's superb. Okay, posting in LinkedIn feed about the any project is important. Don't you think it's a bit low quality post we'll be making? No, it's not. If your aim is, if you want to hunt for any internship or any full-time opportunities, then you can post your project. Why? Because people or the recruiter will see your projects and they'll get you an opportunity. So it's not a bad thing. It's okay. And even what happens is, you know, we also get a lot of like-minded people. when we post things on LinkedIn, you can find good friends on LinkedIn with whom you can collaborate and do great stuff. What will you refer application for Razorpay? Yes, I will. Just one thing is that don't apply on your own if you want a referral. And it's not just with Razorpay, but it is with many companies. So they have generally have common portals. So either employee can refer you or you can apply on your own. So once what happens is if you apply on your own and if you even ask, that employee for that option, what called employ that sorry if you ask that employee for that particular company, say Razorpay only, you applied on your own and you still asking me to apply a referral, then my referral won't come. So it's a tricky situation. If you are asking somebody to refer you, don't apply your own. So I'll refer you. Reach me out on
Yes,
my
ma'am, we will ping you on Twitter.
ah, I guess that's all the questions I have.
Yes, ma'am, we are done with the questions.
I hope the session was meaningful and I felt like that roadmap was a little high paced, but I wanted to touch every point which was possible. So, yeah,
Yeah, the session was very good and it made each and every point clear.
I hope. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for taking out your precious time for us and the community. DSC Kite would love to hear from you in your future events.
Yeah, definitely ping me up and I'm happy to come.
Yes, ma'am, we will spam your Twitter account.
And one more, I guess there was somebody asking question regarding the packages and things on those lines. Say if your skills are good enough, you will really get a decent package, and it's like you will get a better package than what a college placement offers. It's like, you know, like what kind of package you have, मेरा branded गुजारा हो जाता है कि I enjoy it. That's a luxurious life. So yeah, packages are good in web dev also. It's like if your skills are right, I know a lot of companies that pay, like if you would have heard about Bharat Pay. So to web developers, they even give them the sports bike just as a joining bonus. So good developers are lacking in the industry. If you're good, you will get what you want.